Welcome. In this unit, we're actually going to be covering market structure. We're actually upgrading. It's going to allow you guys to get those killer entries you're looking for in surefire setups. It's going to be a quick, simple, yet powerful method that you guys can utilize to profit in the foreign exchange market. So without further ado, we'll jump in here. Now, guys can, let me make sure you can see my screen, and we'll be off. Start a new share. Get footage out the way. So a little bit about market structure. Now, if you guys are familiar with market structure, it's going to be a great technique that's going to improve your overall odds to catching a great entry within the initial trend direction. If you're not familiar with market structure, no worries. Just click on the other video that's titled market structure. Not sure what I'm going to title it, but it will have something like market structure on there to give you guys a full walkthrough, breaking down these different acronyms like the higher highs, higher lows, what you guys are going to be looking for, lower lows, lower highs, higher highs. This is the actual structure of the market, and it's going to validate or give us an understanding to trend and trend direction. So the market structure is going to be an important part and basis for most of our trading. It's very important to analyze the market with market structure when we're looking for trades. Once on a clear structure, the market, when it trends, it generally likes to trend. As the old adage, that the trend is your friend to the end. To utilize this method, we're actually going to use a top-down approach. We want to start with our higher time frame, or HTFs. You guys that have went through the course a little bit, you're going to notice we use that term a lot. HTFs or ITFs, intermediate time frames, and these are just different sectors that we're looking at in time. It's allowing us to make a decision on which way we want to flow with the market. Now, the HTF will determine the overall trend. So the higher the time frame, the more momentum or the more powerful that direction is going to be. Now we're going to be working on our intermediate time frames, which will be the 4 hour, the 1 hour, and excuse me, just to confirm that higher time frames we're going to be speaking about will be the daily and the weekly. The 4 hour and 1 hour will determine our momentum and also the intraday trend, which direction we're currently at now. Now we can also scale in entries on time frames like the 30, the 15, and even the 5 minute. These do help with entry and also give us current momentum, our current momentum in time, or where we're at currently. So here we have a little example of market structure. You guys can see we have a higher low. Wouldn't say higher high because you can see the structure has been moving bearish. Got higher highs, higher lows. Excuse me, higher lows, lower lows, higher lows, lower lows, higher lows, lower lows. We got a new higher low. This plays into our actual entry technique that we're going to be walking you guys through today. So let's take a look at a chart. Now we can see we're going to say that this 4 hour little line chart is going to be considered a 4 hour. I know it does say daily up here, but we're going to pretend for example purposes this is a 4 hour chart. Now, however, we can see that this bullish trend we were in, we're going to consider this a 1 hour time frame. So I'll go ahead and I'll mark it on here. Let's put purple. So we got purple. Is representing the 4 hour time frame. And then we'll have the blue representing the 1 hour time frame. Just a little quick reference, guys, so you guys don't get kind of lost in translation. So this will be like us looking at a 4 hour chart, and this will be us looking at the momentum on a 1 hour chart. Remember, we were just saying that in the entry rules or the rule base, we like to start with our higher time frame. We want to get a general direction. We see that is bearish. Then we want to work our way over to our intermediate time frame to get what is the current intraday trend and also the momentum in this move. Now, this little box here is going to be our decision point. First of all, we want to break down our market structure. So we see on a 4-hour time frame, we have the, coming off of a higher low here, we have a, we say this is a higher high. We got into a lower high, higher low. Now we got a lower low, higher low, lower low. And once again, this is, you guys can feel free if you're not familiar with market structure to watch this video, but you may want to reference back to the original market structure video. It's going to break down these different sequences in market structure. So we got down here, we worked down to our lower low. And if you guys notice, so at this point here, let's say we went ahead and dropped down to our hour time frame, and we want to see, because remember the blue is the 1 hour. So we want to see what is price doing currently in time. Well, we see on this 1 hour that price is no longer bearish, it's starting to made a low, a higher low or a lower high, a higher low. We went into a higher high, and then we got a higher low. So what we can notice about this actual structure is that price tends to come back to previous tested areas. On the next unit, we are going to be diving into supply and demand, either after this video or before this video. You guys will have a supply and demand section that'll break down things with supply and demand, order blocks, etc. So this is, I'll go ahead and put the cat out of the bag. This will be considered a supply and demand zone or an actual supply zone. Yeah, we do have it marked just as a decision point, and we're looking for price to come back up to a previous structure. So as we see the trend is bearish, we're going to be waiting and looking for an entry point. We don't want to chase the trend. We want to let price come back to a familiar point in market structure. So this move up is on an hour time frame, and what we're doing is we're revisiting the 4-hour actual structure point. So we get here and we're unable to break it. We're unable to continue to make higher highs, higher lows. So on this hour time frame, what we're waiting for is for a break of the intraday structure. And we want to continue the trend back in the direction of the higher time frames. So things we're actually going to be looking for in this strategy is we're going to be looking, or we want to see the highest probability trades are going to be the ones where the daily or even the weekly, the daily, the 4-hour, and the 1 hour are in sync. They're going to be fractal. So that's going to mean that we want to see most of these charts line up to be going bearish. If we have a daily bearish move or the trend's been bearish, we see the trend's been bearish on the 4-hour, and then we see that the move is going up on the hour, we're not looking to trade at this point. We're not looking to go counter trend, and we're not going to be looking to short until we actually start getting bearish action on this 1 hour or the smaller time frame. So that's why we waited for price to start showing us. So we initially identified our market structure on the higher time frames. We noticed that we made that lower low. And then we switched, or we dropped down, top down approach to a smaller time frame. And we noticed, hey, this high, this actual lower low on a smaller time frame, we're starting to get higher lows and higher highs. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for a familiar area on this higher time frame where price can actually come to and actually make a decision. So we identified a good structure point where we had a higher low. We noticed that price was pushing up and we were still making higher highs and higher lows. So you might say why we didn't use this point, because we can see that price came up, it broke with a big, nice candle, came back to retest, and it shot up and gave us another higher high. So we only want to start looking at areas to say, well, price could potentially stop here. So we start to our right, look to our left. We got here and we see price made a high and it pulled back and gave us a higher low. Then we see, so we're not taking a trade yet. We want to see what the price, we want price to show us that this intraday trend is now moving back in sync with the big picture, the bigger scale, and it's going to start going bearish. So we got the pullback, we got the retest of the higher high. You guys notice we couldn't make a new higher high. We look to our left and we see, hey, this is a zone, a very strong area where there was like congestion on this 4-hour time frame. It's going to give us a high probability setup. Also, we can consider this a double top, but if we zoom in here and we go down to maybe like the actual time frame, we'll see that this didn't break the previous high, and that's going to be our entry. So a couple of different ways we can take it straight off the structure. We see the price didn't break, started giving us a new market structure, started getting the same sequence that we had over here. So we started having, we had a higher low, or excuse me, we had a higher low, or excuse me, higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And my sequence may have been a little bit off on the transition, but I think you guys get the point what we're looking for. So that's one round or one way to actually enter the market based on just market structure. You guys also notice I do have this EMA. We could wait for the break of the EMA and the retest. We now have the structure, or we're going to have the higher low, and we're going to be looking for that next structure point to be a lower low. So this is a great quick method you guys can start utilizing. One other thing I also will show and I want to dive into is that when we're looking at the smaller time frames, we always want to keep the bigger picture in mind. And we are analyzing this actual decision point is going to be where, the bigger players, institutional levels are going to be sitting in wait, either sell limits or orders waiting to be filled. So when we get a rundown from this higher low, our actual supply zone, price tends our institutional players like to come back and retest that level, and before they actually make the run to their destination. So also we're going to be looking at, so currently, let's break down this chart now. We'll see if we can get a chart, get something in real time. So today is New Year. So happy New Year's to you all. Looking for a great quarter. If you guys have any questions on this method, let me know. But we're going to go ahead and break down this. We're going to start with a weekly chart here. So similar to what we just seen on the daily chart, it's great how this is going to play out because we've seen. Let's take a quick look back here at this daily chart. We see that price had this double top structure here. We come break and make a new higher high. So we're getting something similar here. I'm kind of giving it away. We see this rollover here, but we got something similar here on the weekly time frame. So we have price bearish, very bearish. Let's see if we go up a time frame. We see the monthly even very bearish. We have this retrace here. We do have a structure point here, which was a higher low to a lower low. On a smaller time frame, we started getting the move back up to the actual supply zone or correction. We had a nice little small correction, but we're going to stay tuned in on this weekly chart. And we do notice we have this area here. It's looking similar to what we've seen here on the daily chart where we got the double top. Now we want to zoom in to a smaller time frame. And it's starting to make sense. We see this structure here. We see the high here. We see the higher low. And we may be printing off a lower high. And we could restart this weekly trend, bringing us to a new lower high. Pardon me, that's going to be a new lower low. Now this does make sense, and it will put the charts back in sync. So we notice we've been bearish, got our retrace. So that will make our weekly trend, our high HTF trend, bearish. We were bullish in a sense, even though we do see this, but we were kind of bullish. So it's going to snap both of these time frames. This will be our decision point here. And we can adjust that when we come to this daily chart. And we can even use this here. Some nice structure here. I am a fan of horizontal lines, so I'll draw there just for reference purposes. You see all the structure here. So we're going to be looking for price to come and get back in sync with the weekly trend. It's a great area for it to do that. And we just want more confirmation based on price action. So we're starting to see a little bit of rollover on the daily. Come down into these more of our entry type of charts. See, wow. And the smaller the time frame, the quicker we can get into the market. So we got a high here. We had a lower high, higher low to a lower low. So currently we could get another higher low. We could get an extension here this weekend, giving us a solid lower low. It's going to start bringing this trend into some bearish, the beginning of some bearish momentum. So personally, I would like to see a little bit more confirmation with it being a status change. Our market structure is starting to be respected on the weekly, and we may have a nice extended move for days, potentially weeks of movement back to the downside. So personally, I'm going to wait for price to come and give me a new lower low. Give us the same thing we've seen on that first example with the equal highs or the double top. And we get a lower low, wait for the pullback again, come back up, retesting these levels. That'll be our entry for the new lower low based off of the daily and the weekly time frame. So NZD CHF is looking like there's a potential for a great move to the downside. And we're going to let market structure confirm this. And that will be the walkthrough. If you guys have any questions or concerns, feel free to send me an email or just drop a question in one of our live sessions. We're going to be diving into this. If you guys want to stay tuned, or go ahead and click the next button, and we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into some market structure and looking at some different things like EMAs and supply and demand. But thank you for you guys' time, and I hope this video is going to be helpful.